He stood looking in at the dead man slumped across the console of the Bronco. He shone the light into the cargo space behind the seats. "Where's the box?" he said. "It's in the truck. You want it? Can you get anything on it?" "No. Nothing. Not a bleep." Cheeger studied the dead man. He jostled him with his flashlight. "These are some ripe petunias," one of the men said. Cheeger didn't answer. He backed out of the truck and stood looking over the bajada in the moonlight. Dead quiet. The man in the Bronco had not been dead 3 days or anything like it. He pulled the pistol from the waistband of his trousers and turned around to where the 2 men were standing and shot them once each through the head in rapid succession and put the gun back in his belt. The second man had actually half-turned to look at the first as he fell. Cheeger stepped between them and bent and pulled away the shoulder strap from the second man and swung up the 9mm Glock he'd been carrying and walked back out to the vehicle and got in and started it and backed around and drove up out of the caldera and back toward the highway. I don't know that law enforcement benefits all that much from new technology. Tools that comes into our hands comes into theirs too. Not that you can go back, or that you'd even want to. We used to have them old Motorola 2-way radios. We've had the high band now for several years. Some things ain't changed. Common sense ain't changed. I'll tell my deputies sometimes to just follow the breadcrumbs. I still like the old Colts, 44-40. If that won't stop him, you'd better throw the thing down and take off running. I like the old Winchester Model 97. I like it that it's got a hammer. I don't like having to hunt the safety on a gun. Of course, some things is worse. That cruiser of mine is 7 years old. It's got the 454 in it. You can't get that engine no more. I drove one of the new ones. It wouldn't outrun a fat man. I told the man I thought I'd stick with what I had. That ain't always a good policy. But it ain't always a bad one neither. This other thing I don't know. People will ask me about it ever so often. I can't say as I would rule it out altogether. It ain't something I would like to have to see again. To witness. The ones that really ought to be on death row will never make it. I believe that. You remember certain things about a thing like that. People didn't know what to wear. There was 1 or 2 come dressed in black, which I suppose was all right. Some of the men come just in their shirt sleeves, and that kindly bothered me. I ain't sure I could tell you why. Still, they seemed to know what to do, and that surprised me. Most of them I know had never been to execution before. When it was over, they pulled this curtain around the gas chamber with him in there, set and slumped over, and people just got up and filed out. Like out of church or something. It just seemed peculiar. Well, it was peculiar. I'd have to say it was probably the most unusual day I ever spent. Quite a few people didn't believe in it. Even them that worked on the row. You'd be surprised. Some of them, I think, had at one time. You see somebody every day, sometimes for years, and then one day you walk that man down the hallway and put him to death. Well, that'll take some of the cackle out of just about anybody. I don't care who it is. And of course, some of them boys was not very bright. Chaplain Pickett told me about one he ministered to, and he ate his last meal, and he'd ordered this dessert, ever what it was. And it come time to go, and Pickett, he asked him, didn't he want his dessert, and the old boy told him he was saving it for when he come back. I don't know what to say about that. Pickett didn't neither. I never had to kill nobody, and I am very glad of that fact. Some of the old-time sheriffs wouldn't even carry a firearm. A lot of folks find that hard to believe, but it's a fact. Jim Scarborough never carried one. That's the younger Jim. Gaston Boykins wouldn't wear one. Up in Comanche County. I always like to hear about the old-timers. Never missed a chance to do so. The old-time concern that the sheriffs had for their people has been watered down some. You can't help but feel it. Nigger Hoskins over in Bastrop County knowed everybody's phone number in the whole county by heart. It's a odd thing when you come to think about it. The opportunities for abuse are just about everywhere. There's no requirements in the Texas state constitution for being a sheriff. Not a one. There is no such thing as a county law. You think about a job where you have pretty much the same authority as God, and there is no requirements put upon you, and you are charged with preserving non-existent laws, and you tell me if that's peculiar or not. Because I say that it is. Does it work? Yes. 90% of the time. It takes very little to govern good people. Very little. And bad people can't be governed at all. Or if they could, I never heard of it.